Hey, man.
And we're back.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Hey, and we're back.
How's it going?
Not too bad. The Queen's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So
Long
we
live
actually
the king.
knew that. What's that?
Long live the king.
Yes. The our very bloated red boy is now king.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he is.
Yep. So what have you been up to?
Not much. I mean, looking at a lot of dead queen memes. That's been good.
You've definitely been on the beat.
Yeah, there are so many good ones. I am.
Yeah.
I have to admit that I share in the irreverent approach to that whole situation, and
Yep.
I know that there are a lot of people that, well, frankly, that look like you and me that are like weirdly sad about it because of that Netflix show and some weird sort of
handsome guys,
cultural
bunch of handsome guys.
Yeah, of a certain complexion who are like
A
really
handsome one.
Yep. That's the one. The handsome one.
I like you said to me earlier, can't really take the whole somber thing seriously.
Yeah. It's impossible for me to not find it hysterical. Like
They're just like the worst fucking people like on earth.
Well, that's the thing. It's and I mean, believe me, I'm sure we've got some UK listeners out there, and we are fully able to intellectualize the notion that, like, you know, we have no cultural context for revenants. Revenants? I don't know, for a royal. And reverence is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
We don't revere royals, and but not even in some like big stupid American 1776 way. Like it's just bad, and they're bad people. But like whatever. I hear all these people out there that are like, well, the institution aside, or she's still a person. It's like, nope, I'm sorry, but like I don't really see it that way. The institution aside, what the fuck does that mean? Like,
yeah, she like disinherited her like mentally like disabled like cousins.
Yeah,
because they just didn't want them to like bring shame to the family.
Right, and it's like
they didn't even have they didn't have any money. They were just like at a normal home for mentally handicapped people.
Sure.
Like,
they could have at least been at a royal home.
I mean, they probably could have had like just living people to help them,
right.
And they could have stayed with the family.
Well, look, with times the way they are, Evan, you got to cut corners somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. There's got to be
I think,
some concessions.
I like the way Patrick Wyman put it on Twitter. He said, "For a lot of people, it's okay when powerful figures in countries do bad things to the less fortunate. As long as they build fancy palaces and patronize art and wear nice clothes. That's a perfectly coherent stance, just one with real ethical baggage, and I wish they'd admit it."
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's, what a lot of people don't realize is how much time and money goes into, especially money, goes into like the 24/7 propaganda machine for any royal family, but specifically in countries where that royal family carries a certain degree of public prestige. So the UK is a good example. Like Thailand's a really good example. And all of these images that we have of this sort of hyper romanticized royal lifestyle, that's all super intentional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a psyop.
Right. And at the end of the day, it's really just some big old bunch of inbred weirdos who's
they're trying to convince the British people to not Romanov them.
Right, yeah, like they're like when they're in reality there are so many good reasons to just cut all their heads off, It's like that little Norm Macdonald
in
bit.
Europe for a while.
Did you see that little Norm Macdonald bit when he's talking to Stephen Merchant? He's like, "You ever think about getting a bunch of your mates together and just going down to that Buckingham Palace and killing the old bag?" And Stephen Merchant's like, to what end? And he's just like, money. Just, and that's I feel like the best summary of it that I've heard. It's
it'd save a lot of money for the British working class.
Well, her funeral is going to cost like billions of pounds, and Britain's hurting, I'm sorry, but like this Brexit thing is a fucking joke. And I know, I'm sure
they're having an energy crisis too, you know what I mean?
Any of you listening from the Commonwealth realms, I'm sure are sitting there like spitting your fucking Marmite out of your nose, like American school shootings. Like, yeah, also here. Like, it is also
unbelievably the entire Western world sucks.
It is also dog
right
shit
now.
here. Like, we're not.
Yeah, the whole.
It's not like an us or you thing. It's like, I just really want the British people to like come to terms with the fact that they are like a shittier version of us, and we're shitty. You know.
Yeah.
You've got castles.
I would
castles
say that.
Are fucking
I
sweet.
imagine many of our UK listeners are probably more towards the left part of the spectrum, and probably share in some or most or all of our thoughts about the royal family.
They do, but do not underestimate like the power of like anti-American sentiment and like pro-royal sentiment.
They should
even for folks
America.
on the left.
I fucking hate America. They should definitely hate America.
Sure. And I'm not, again, that's not even like I'm not saying that that's the wrong take, but like it's such a constant measuring contest between Western countries for like who's the biggest heap of garbage.
Yeah, who can eat more plates of fries with some other kind of fried dish?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're gonna make the food analogy, like, they are bottom of the barrel.
Yeah,
you send me so many pictures. I still gotta
try the Wigan kebab though. No, I gotta try a Wigan kebab.
I wonder if Wigan kebab is like a very specific thing, or if it's like become a thing that you can just get anywhere. Because I know you've showed me that video.
Yeah, it's a pretty
My only issue with the Wigan kebab, honestly, I've thought about it. My only issue with it is that it's on bread. Like, that meat pie is probably tight. Like, I'm fine with that. It's just like I don't want an extra roll to wrap around my fucking pastry.
I wonder how messy it is. It must be very messy.
My guess is it's extremely dry. My guess is that shit's not messy at all. It's probably whack as fuck.
No, I think it's delicious. Like,
and I hope you're right. I want your dreams to come true. I have never wished that.
And get some smack bomb pea wet.
Yeah.
What's pea wet?
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway. So those are our thoughts on the UK.
God save the king. And we also were, lastly, I guess I just want to say, I think you made the point earlier of how funny it would be if Charles died in like 6 months.
He's not looking good, bro.
No, dude. I remember, did you see the pictures of him a few years ago when he visited India and like had to go barefoot?
Yeah.
And his feet are just like full of fluid. It's just like...
God, I mean, dude, his hands are those fucking sausage mitts, dude.
Let me see if I can just quickly find it.
Like, to be fair, like... King Philip was like basically dead for like the last few years.
Yeah.
And like those pictures of him in the back of the car where it looks like they're driving a corpse around. I guess he did live to like 100, so maybe. I'm sure they've got the good adrenochrome there that they feed to those fucking freaks.
Yeah, dude, they've got plenty of babies to harvest.
Yeah, let's just snap open some spines and suck out the fluid.
This is a picture I just sent you of his hand.
Yeah, I've seen the hand one. The hand one's
and then
quite insane. Yeah,
when he was in India, he had to go...
Look at how pus-filled those hands are.
It's edema. It's totally just fluid. It's because he probably has heart issues. Or gout,
Yeah,
it just
gout,
accumulates
I was thinking,
it. But also, like, cardiac conditions can cause that.
Yeah.
And then look at...
Madone!
Look at those feeties, brother. Like, he is just chock full of his own juices.
He's got some fucked up nails too. Come on, dude. You got all the money in the world. You can't get some antifungal shit.
Well, I've had my battles with having fucked up feet, so I'm not gonna, say that it's. And I don't have all the money in the world, but it's they're better now, though, ladies. If you're listening,
Also, I get
nice feet now.
I get basically like I can get any type of foot stuff that you need if you have.
No, I'm good. I don't have
in the future.
Yeah, if they recur.
No, this is more like wash or something.
I don't know if you've noticed, listeners. I'm sure Evan has, but I periodically like check out of reality and just like am a non-functioning human being. So during those periods,
Yeah, every 2 or 3 years, you just go through like a few months of
existential.
Yeah,
I go through like a 6-month dark night of the soul.
Yeah, you're in seclusion in the West Wing.
Yeah, I sequester myself in the wilderness to meditate on on
the bottle,
the meaning behind my own existence, and like the pros and cons of ending it. So, anyway, Yeah, so the royals are fucked. Charles III is like a big sausage, and may his reign be long.
Long
May he
and-
restore. Actually, one last thing. I got a really kind of funny, endearing text from my buddy the other day, or yesterday, because he was like, so my daughter is, who I think is 12 or 11.
Is it the friend that you always tell me the stories from?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And he was like, so she's really nervous because she thinks that now that the Queen is dead, that England is going to come back for all their land, and she's freaking out. That's not going to happen, right? And I was just like, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think they want anything to do with that. But like, no. You're good. I said, I'm sure that the new king is a very nice man. And here's the thing. I bet he is, in a very specifically hilarious way.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's just a bumbling idiot who's like a
dullard.
Yeah, just like an absolute thumb with legs. And,
just a brainless dullard, just stumbling around.
That was another one of the funny, stupid memes I saw. I forget where it came from, but it was like, or maybe it was a tweet, and it was like, say what you will about Elizabeth, but she was a monarch, she was a head of state, she was I forget what, and most importantly, she was a devoted cousin to her husband.
Yeah,
it's like, it's just the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, they're quite the motley crew over there. Anyway,
so it's been a little while since we've done an episode of Left Unread. Evan's lungs you're good. You're just perfectly good now.
Yep.
Yeah, Evan had a little bout of the pneumonia.
I still have like a bit of a cough. I technically might still have pneumonia, but it's like contained.
It was kind of unbelievable once you got the roids in you, like how quickly.
Dude, the amount of shit that was coming out of my lungs was insane.
I can only imagine. You sounded awful. I mean, like, you sounded really bad, and you were
I had
clearly
mostly fought
sick.
it off, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it came, like, screaming back.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize that now I have asthma, so...
Yeah.
So the reason I was having trouble breathing was, like, I was, like, literally having an asthma attack, and I just didn't know.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Well,
but yeah.
But it was a real testament to, like, modern medicine, how, like, that would have probably just killed you. Like 200 years ago, you would just be like an invalid for the rest of your life and then die at 40.
Get tuberculosis or something.
Right. You'd get consumption and just like slowly waste away. And now it's like, okay, take this, and like 2 days later you're like, cool, dude, let's.
Well, I mean, it still does have like a 1% mortality rate, but that's usually old people and infants.
Right. Yeah. Don't try to gas it. Well, hey, man, listen, people die of pneumonia. I could have died of pneumonia.
I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying, like, even now today, it could still be deadly.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Hey, dude, I could die tomorrow, dude. I could die tomorrow, and then you wouldn't feel good about joking about it tomorrow, would you?
What if I died in a car accident tomorrow?
What if I died tomorrow and I technically had pneumonia? You wouldn't be making jokes about it then, would you? Do you remember how I have this little corgi? It just made me think of the Queen.
13 minutes in, let's go.
Yeah, so so I wrote this episode.
You're showing me your fucking desk shit?
No, that's not for the episode. I just noticed it, and the Queen had corgis. Anyway, I'm not I don't care about that for the show. Okay. So I wrote this episode weeks and weeks and weeks ago, and I know we referenced it a while ago, but here we are. And we're gonna dive into some kind of conspiracy shit and a little history, and just talk about a topic that I personally find really enriching and interesting to discuss. Yep. So without further ado, let's start the show. So, Evan, how much do you know about CERN?
Quite a lot, actually.
Okay.
I do want to say too, this is well timed because I started watching the very noided Netflix show Dark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is like a German show about this like secret society that's engaged in some kind of conspiracy involving like basically like subatomic particle physics that are like discovered within like a nuclear power plant that's like being hidden. Includes the Higgs boson.
Okay.
And that it involves like time travel and this whole like time travel conspiracy with secret society. It's very, very cool show. It's basically like the movie Primer meets Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
which is right up my alley. So it very well timed that I started that show and we're doing this episode.
That's funny. So I started watching that show, and I'm 100% sure that this person doesn't listen to this, so I'm just going to fucking dunk on one of my ex-girlfriends real quick. So I started watching this show like when it came out with one of my ex-girlfriends who was fluent in German, and she was like, let's watch this show. And then we were watching it, and obviously I am not fluent in German, so she was watching it in German to like practice her German. And then we put the subtitles on so that I could also watch the show, which is how I would have watched it anyway, because I think dubbing is a little rough.
Are terrible,
yeah. And so we're watching it, and then like an episode in, she's like, I just keep finding myself looking at the subtitles and not paying attention to the German. So like, you can't watch this with me anymore. And I got I got like booted now, which is fine because honestly, I would much rather just sit there and look at fucking dog shit on my phone than watch a TV show, and that's gotten me in so many arguments with girlfriends over the years. But like, I don't have the attention span for TV. But like, fuck her. That was so shitty. Hey, let's watch this show, and then like immediately just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch it without you. I can't watch it with you. You're too stupid. You don't. Anyway, I kind of maybe that's a dunk on myself, but so we're going to talk today a little bit about CERN. We're going to talk a little bit about, which is CERN, CERN. You've probably heard about it. The European Organization for Nuclear Research. It's technically not even CERN anymore, but it's still CERN. We're going to do a little history, and then we're going to kind of talk about the batshit conspiracy theories that have cropped up around it, and a little bit about like how that spreads and why that's a slippery slope, especially for people like us who are, obviously interested in conspiracies and conspiracy theories. And I think this CERN stuff is a really cool example of like when legitimate distrust of like any kind of government organization goes from reasonable to like just viciously unreasonable super quickly, and how fast that stuff spreads.
So I'll say too that like I mean I don't really like the term conspiracy theorist. In part, I mean it was quite literally created by the CIA. The term to like shitcoat like JFK with like stuff like I don't know, fucking Nazis on the moon and shit like that.
Sure.
But like so like when I like look at that, and I wouldn't even really call myself one, which is I guess some kind of rich to say to somebody who's done an episode on Program to Kill, who believes in the general thesis of that book. But I mean, the way I look at it is I look at things really just through like a Marxist lens. It's all about like materialism for me. So looking at through that, it's always, that there's some, the ruling class, but they're engaging in something that specifically furthers their interests generally in order to maintain control over, the economy and markets. And so basically, that's a reason that like I don't give a shit about like moon landing. Like conspiracies.
Dude, that's why I don't really give a shit about Moon.
Fuck the moon.
I just think Moon sucks.
Yeah. I'm talking about the movie starring Sam Rockwell. No. First of all, I don't give a shit one way or the other whether the moon landing is true or not.
Yeah.
I think I would probably lean towards it being real. I can totally see it being fake, but the thing is, it doesn't interest me in any way because it's not materialist. Like, what I mean? Like, there's no like real material analysis. Like, what would be gained from faking it is just to like kind of win the space race that was already lost is like the only thing that you can do. Like the Soviets had the first satellite, they had the first man in space, and so like I can see maybe, but at that point too, like in the late 60s, things were already like really turning towards the United States. Like the Soviet Union wasn't collapsing yet at this point. It'd still be a few more years. But they were definitely, it was in the late 60s, early 70s where they began to really fall behind. So when I look at something like that, like, I just don't give a shit.
Yeah, no, I totally feel the same way. Like,
yeah.
It's funny to me that, and I don't feel the same way with the same level of, like, I'm sure, we're 65 episodes in, I'm sure everybody's gathered that, like, Evan is way better at theory of everything than me and just is the smarter guy on the show. But I totally agree that, like, it's almost like an Occam's razor approach, and maybe that verges on materialism, but the idea that, like, I don't see, it's a little different, but, like, I don't see the value in something that elaborate, which, frankly, like, a lot of the theories surrounding, like, Kubrick and whatever and faking the moon landing just weren't technologically feasible unless you just take for granted that there was, like, secret development of, like, advanced film down to, like, the lighting not even being available, like that type of the lighting that would have been required didn't exist yet, things like that, like really basic filmmaking technology that just wasn't available. And so unless you have this inherent conceit that, like, well, of course, not that we know of, like, the government must have had it, like, sure, then fucking anything can be true.
But why would they have
exactly like why
I mean, like, for instance,
well, here's the thing. At that point, the amount of money and research that would have been required to create the film set and the film technology to fake the moon landing in the 60s would have cost more money than just going to the moon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was cheaper to just do it than to fake it. Yeah, so, I mean, could they have? Sure. But, like, again,
yeah, I mean,
what's the gain there?
Yeah, I mean, if it comes to something like aircraft, like, the government was working on, like, drone technology in the 60s. Mm-hmm. Like, that was clearly, like, way ahead of the game. And that's also, kind of like with the whole, like, UFO thing.
Right.
Was a shitcoat of, just advanced, like, aeronautical research by the U.S. But yeah, it's just like, but that's one that, like, you said before, Occam's razor. I don't like to apply Occam's razor to specific cases. I think if you look at something on the whole, like, if you look at the entirety of things, Occam's razor makes sense.
Sure.
But if you look at specific cases, I don't think it's a good way to do it. You need to go the facts. Like, you need to take all of the facts, go step by step as to how things happen. So I don't think Occam's razor works on individual cases. I think it's broadly true when you look at everything.
Sure.
But no, it's just like, that's one that's like, I just don't see what's gained. Like, you know what I mean? It just seems like a lot of effort to gain nothing. The only thing that you could gain is prestige. Or maybe funding for NASA, stuff like that, and then
which clearly wasn't even that important.
All right, then if you're going to make the argument where it's like funding for NASA and the funding is going towards something else, all right, then that would start to interest me. But it's just it's just not something that I'm that interested in. And so like getting to like the CERN thing, I do also like, I don't really like, as insane as like some conspiracy theories out there are. I also know that a lot of these are actually promoted. Like, if you read the book Mirage Men or watch the documentary on it, quite literally, there was a man who was recording a lot of, like, secret Air Force, like, flights and stuff like that, and he had all this, like, really advanced scientific equipment. He has a PhD, and he's recording these things, and he goes to the Air Force about it, and they essentially psyop him for, like, decades. And make him think that it's aliens, and they basically drive the man insane. And at one part, it got so bad that the fucking NSA was in the house across the street, and the guy's son had called the Air Force, was like, I know you're fucking with my dad, I know you guys have the house across the street, like, leave him alone, you're driving him insane. And the Air Force intelligence was like, what the fuck does he mean across the street? And they look, and they saw that the NSA was spying on this guy as well, and they had the house across the street.
Right.
And so, like, I know that, like, with these, like, more, like, insane ones, they're definitely promoted in order to drive people insane. So I do, like, try to caution, like, making fun of people for believing in them. Certain ones. Although, obviously, we do make fun of, like, the adrenochrome shit, because, obviously, that's just too easy.
Yeah, I mean, well, full disclosure, like, I'm not gonna make fun of anybody specific on this show, and for that very reason, like, I don't see any value in, like, sometimes you'll listen to podcasts and they'll like name drop conspiracy theorists. They'll play audio of people like losing their minds on YouTube. You're not going to hear any of that here
for like gags and like laughs. I think that's like disgusting.
I do definitely think some of these theories are hysterical, but there's more nuance to that. So like I will be making jokes, but like not at the expense of anybody. I fully agree with Evan. Like
take the piss out of
taking people, so there are like exceptions to that, right? Like a few weeks ago I played Tila Tequila, who's like an avowed Nazi. Like, fuck her, right? But
I'll laugh at that shit.
You know what I mean? But like, like just some poor person who's like being fucking sucked into some conspiracy. Like, it sucks that totally happened. The purpose of this episode, and hopefully that comes through, is more to kind of highlight like how bullshit it is that like media and social media sort of give credence to these things and like aid in the furthering of just bizarre narratives. But anyway,
and then equate them with things like JFK.
Sure,
the JFK.
But let's not get too much deeper into the weeds on like the our thoughts on this. We can definitely return to this. I'm happy to have more of this conversation. I just want to like kind of dive into the specifics, and then we can circle back.
Finesse, too on. It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it. Fuck 'em. Birds of a feather. They flock together, that make you a sucker. I don't fuck with nobody. If you ain't mob tied, then it's fuck you. I want numbers, some money. But if they get with this shit, I'ma flush them. I'm in South Carolina. I'm looking for Rennies. I'm some pimpin' though. She gotta be thick as hell. Big player, can't do no with no skinny hoe. Bought a Glock 47. That bitch look like a D. I hit it with both hands. I sign my own chicks. Better stay in your lane, your little bitty broke ass. They hate that they left me. They regret what they said, but I don't accept it. They claim anybody. The whole time it was somebody else. Finesse bringing real back. He be speaking his mind. That boy with the shit. These rap niggas beautiful. They be ready to kill you over a bitch. Hold up, I come around, niggas go put they hoe up. Quit asking questions, bitch, shut up and roll up. She eat the dick till she throw up. He tried to diss me to blow up. Boom, I'm VVS to the flow up. Pink and ring look like a donut. I do this shit for them niggas who solid and free all them real ones who gelling in Beaumont. Damn, they can't do nothing with them. Beefing with who? It ain't nothing with them. I'm hearing the slick shit, so nothing but big shit. You can get.
So a little backstory on just what CERN is, right? I think a lot of people have heard of CERN. You might have even heard of some of the conspiracies around CERN. But here's what it is. So in September of 1954, which is nearly 70 years ago, or an easier unit of measurement, like one Queen Elizabeth II ago, 12 European nations ratified a charter establishing the Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire. Which is definitely bad French, but the European Council for
Very
Nuclear Research.
Quebecois of you.
So CERN. European Council for Nuclear Research. The goal of this organization was super simple. It's going to engage in study of the theory and practice surrounding the nuclear technology, which had become so immediately vital in the post-war period, post-World War II. Now, obviously, the looming image in many minds when thinking of nuclear technology in this period is of mushroom clouds blooming on the Japanese skyline and just fucking vaporizing thousands of civilians instantly. And the gruesome deaths and all the shit that happened in the wake of that. And that's a pretty tough image to shake, and I would actually, tell you not to shake it, right? But understanding the potential for destruction wrought by nuclear means had to have been paramount in the minds of nuclear scientists of the day, right? Like, that is absolutely one of the main reasons that all these organizations were founded, right? They saw the destructive potential for this, and all the governments of the world that had the ability to do so started scrambling and saying, like, we need to figure out what this is, how this is going to like impact, our own military establishment, whatever. And a lot of them already had these programs underway, but it, immediately following, the nuclear bombings of Japan, that just skyrockets. The investments in that become unbelievable by anyone that can afford to do so. But there's also this whole slew of potential civilian applications for this newly harnessed power. For example, clean, limitless energy, access to unforeseen understanding of the very structure of the universe down to the molecular level, which, for the real nerds, the guys that are really deep in there, that's really what their personal interest in this is just like, okay, we're about to be able to uncover like the building blocks of existence, like what every conceivable thing is made of. And then of course, governments will take that and co-opt it and do all sorts of nefarious things with it. So under the early guidance of Danish Nobel laureate Neelsh Bohr, who you've probably heard of.
Neelsh Bohr.
What?
Neelsh.
Neelsh?
Yeah, Neelsh Bohr.
Okay. Neelsh Bohr. The council established its ubiquitous laboratory in Geneva, Switzerland. And still, in 1954, same year, they officially changed their name to the Organisation Européenne pour la Recherche Nucléaire. So you might be saying to yourself, hey, shouldn't it be called OERN then? Well, they felt that was awkward, and they were right. So they just kept calling it CERN. It literally hasn't been CERN almost since day one. But the acronym for it is CERN. The name is OERN. And that just is what it is. It's CERN. So this lab that they built, this first lab, was devoted to cutting-edge research into the behaviors and the interactions between subatomic particles and essentially to unraveling the mysteries surrounding the structure of the universe. The goal was to discover, to catalog, and to understand the systems that allow our reality to exist at the most fundamental level, with the thought being that if you understood these systems, you could theoretically unlock access to new sources of clean, sustainable energy and just generally benefit life on Earth limitlessly forever. And yeah, I mean, with things the way they are, I'm sure, as I said, governments would absolutely step in and try to, like, weaponize any relevant findings they could that CERN came up with, just because that's always how this goes. So that's a constant undercurrent, and you should never not think that that's happening. Like, anytime any government funds anything, if they can get something fucked up out of it, they will. Do you think that's fair to just blanket say so we don't have to keep repeating it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, this episode isn't about that.
If they can get a technology and use it on the global south in order to steal their resources,
yeah,
they will.
For sure. So I want to, like, right off the bat say, like, I'm not claiming that there's nothing fucked up going on at CERN or that there's never been, like, fucked up motivations behind groups or governments that fund CERN or send researchers to CERN. There undoubtedly are, right? So just get that out of your head.
Everything is sus.
Right. But on the ground level, it's a bunch of quantum nerds doing their thing. They're just in it for the science, man. They're just trying to uncover the tiniest of tiny moving parts that allow the universe to exist.
Which, respect.
Yeah, right? Like, that rules.
Respect that.
Of course you can. Like, as people like yourself and I who... I mean, we do this whole show just because we like learning stuff, you know? Like, so people that get real good at that on, like, the level of guys at CERN and gals at CERN and non-binary pals at CERN, it's of course just super impressive.
Yeah, shooting subatomic particles really fucking fast just to see, just to, like, prove, like, general relativity and shit.
Just, like,
that's cool as fuck. Are you kidding me, dude? I would love to do that shit.
It is exciting.
Awesome.
I don't have the brain to, like, interpret a lot of the little things that I learned a very basic layman's version of to do this episode, but this also isn't like a science episode, right? So we're just going to kind of blast through this, but it's stuff rocks. It's so cool. Yeah. It's just super, super mind-boggling, all of it. So fast forward a little bit, CERN is obviously still around because here we are doing an episode about it. They're still operating out of their new headquarters in Geneva. And over the past 68 years, they have come to be recognized as one of, if not the, leading organizations in quantum and molecular research. They staff nearly 3,000 individuals themselves, and then host thousands more from other international research organizations who just want to travel there to use their facilities, which are absolutely on the cutting edge. The original 12 member states in the council have grown to 23, with 10 additional associate members, and scientists from more than 70 countries utilize the facilities annually. So the U.S. is not a council member, for anybody wondering about, like, the CIA and shit, but U.S.-funded scientists absolutely use CERN all the time.
When you have shit like this, it's kind of like what we talked about with, like, Falun Gong.
Yeah.
The CIA is going to be there.
Yeah, they're gonna see this and think, like, cool. Even if there's not
you're talking about
yet.
Scientific subatomic particle research in Western Europe during the Cold War. Yeah, trust me, spook money was getting there.
Yeah, it's finding its way there. In addition to all of the staff, they also have unbelievable state-of-the-art computing facilities which generate petabytes of data every year. A petabyte is 1,000 to the fifth power bytes, which is a lot of data. Most of us are familiar with gigabytes, maybe terabytes.
Well, yeah, petabyte is one up from terabyte.
Right. It's big. It's big.
Right.
Terabyte, yeah. Got it. I mean, hey, my Xbox has a terabyte. Yeah. So CERN has become most known globally for their particle accelerators, which are actually not, like, the only thing they do, but that is, like, the most rock and roll aspect of their whole fucking thing. They've got these atom smashers, as they like to call them, which is the coolest fucking nickname for a thing ever. Also,
when you get to like these kinds of like physics and shit like that, especially like astrophysics, dude, the naming mechanisms are so cool. Like supermassive, like just
awesome.
shit, like it's like so blunt, and like stochastic. I love it.
Yeah, it's really cool. And we're actually going to talk about why that has come to be a problem, because like you just can't call shit awesome sci-fi sounding stuff and not expect the internet to like just lose its collective mind.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Smasher,
like, can you blame these nerds for wanting to have cool shit?
Yeah, they're just like cheering on us. They're fucking just sending subatomic particles.
Yeah, and you know they just get like fucked up and bang each other, and like that CERN is probably an awesome place to be on LHC day. So they have these particle accelerators which perform the basic function of just accelerating individual particles up to completely unimaginable speeds and then observing the reactions of those particles. So they have linear accelerators, which simply just take a particle and accelerate it in a direction and then collect data on the behavior of that particle at speed, right? And then there are collider accelerators, which are fucking awesome, which is where they take two. These are the rock and roll bad boys of accelerators. They take multiple particles and they fucking smash them into each other at high speeds and then just see what happens. Which sounds wild and insane, and it is wild and insane, but also like at the same time, and definitely like according to CERN, it's fairly mundane on the outside. Like you wouldn't even really know it was happening if you weren't somebody who knew how to read the data and observe the data. To those in the know, it's like wildly exciting, and you know, we're not going to like take away from that. But to like you and I, we wouldn't know what the fuck we were doing watching a particle acceleration. At least not the first one. And it's not creating like massive nuclear explosions or anything. I feel like people have this idea that when you smash two particles together, it's like, doesn't that like nope.
No, yeah. They're just trying to. It's just to like sort of prove like certain aspects of like general relativity.
Exactly.
You know, what I mean, like theoretically, you would have something like the reason that the Higgs boson one was so big is because theoretically this particle should exist according to general relativity. Right. And once you finally see it, it's like yes.
Yeah, and we'll get there. We're gonna talk about the Higgs boson. So the most famous of their particle colliders is the Large Hadron Collider, which I will also call the LHC, which was built between 1998 and 2008 in a massive tunnel which is 500 feet below the surface of the Earth on the Swiss-French border. It's the largest and most powerful particle collider on Earth by like a significant margin. They're actually working on one now that's going to make this one look like a little punk bitch. But it's basically the one particle accelerator that has proved every unbelievable theory in particle physics in the last 20 years almost now. Or I guess 14 years, 12 years. 2008 to now is 12 years?
No, 14.
14 years. I was okay. So yeah. Anyway, I don't work at CERN. I'm not on the staff. I sent my application. We're waiting to hear back, but the interview process is long, so fingers crossed. So it's not the only particle accelerator. It's not even the only one they still use, but it is the biggest and the best, and so that gets all the press, right? The loop itself is 27 kilometers in circumference, which is 17 miles, and that's super big, and that's how they get these wild speeds. It's currently the world record holder by a pretty unapproachable margin in terms of pure energy achievable in its collisions. It can achieve 6.5 tera-electron volts, which is another fucking sweet science word, per beam. And remember, two particle beams are colliding, so that's a total of 13 tera-electron volts of total energy in the most powerful collisions that they're able to complete. An electron volt is the amount of kinetic energy gained by a single electron accelerated from total rest in a vacuum through an electron potential difference of 1 volt. So the prefix tera denoting multiplication by 1 trillion.
Yeah, so like generally speaking, you'll talk about things in terms of mega electron volts, MEVs, or kilo electron volts, KeVs, and so from a kilo, you're talking about like 3 orders of magnitude higher.
Yeah,
right?
It's unbelievable. From a kilo 3 orders of magnitude higher. So this unit of measurement,
gigatera,
right. This unit of measurement, which is super common in particle physics, is not necessarily super accessible in terms of scale, like to just the average mind, but it's very big. These collisions happen really, 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 really fucking fast with an outrageous energy output. Just keep that in mind. It's not, some of you will be able to know more about that than I will, but it's just really fast and really powerful. And so this allows thousands of scientists from hundreds of different universities to access data that literally cannot be observed anywhere else on the planet or frankly outside of it that we know of. And so thus the LHC is lauded and considered completely vital by the particle physics community. But that's enough talk about the practical applications of the LHC. Heck, I don't even want to talk anymore about anything remotely reasonable or scientific, because here's the thing. Due to its singular status among particle colliders, the LHC, which is like completely unprecedented and is performing all these experiments that no one's ever done before, there's a lot of one-of-one type experiments going on at the LHC, has attracted the attention of that lovable cadre of individuals who sprinkle red pills into their cornflakes every morning. There are a multitude of theories surrounding the experiments that take place at CERN facilities, especially the LHC. And since the highly publicized first collisions in 2008, the internet has provided fertile ground for these theories to spread and to ebb and to flow, as they so often end up doing. We've already sort of covered this. Like, Evan and I are hardly the first people to laugh down any and all conspiracy theories. I know you don't love that term, but we've talked enough about, parapolitics on this show to kind of clue you guys in that we both recommend a healthy distrust of the government and its inner workings. But that being said, there's a fine, albeit completely perceptible, line between reasonable distrust and skepticism and like total crackpottery. And today, for the most part, we're going to kind of focus on the latter. So I want to talk a little bit about like why CERN in particular attracts conspiracy theorists or so much attention. Why so many interesting far out theories have sprung up around CERN, which is not despite its sort of singular status in the theoretical physics community, is not like necessarily well known to your average person. I've mentioned that the LHC is capable of some pretty extraordinary output, and that the energy achieved by the collisions within it is essentially inconceivable to a mind unaccustomed to thinking in such massive units of measurement. But here's the thing, that's a problem for a lot of people. I've always been a person, and I think Evan, my co-host, will agree, I enjoy the pursuit of understanding in just about everything I encounter. Obviously, history and the adjacent sciences are my favorite, but really I can listen to anyone speak authoritatively about just about anything and have that hold my interest. Do you study art history? Tell me about the Dutch masters or something. Are you a hairstylist? I like knowing about color levels and the proper application of balayage. I don't really care what it is. I like when people are smart and they know about something that I don't know about, and that's fine with me. I don't get jealous. I don't get suspicious. I don't get, I just fully accept that there are people out there that know more than I do about just about everything. And I'm happy to learn about that from them. I can sleep easily at night knowing that person is out there doing experiments or research into something that I might never have a firm grasp on. Or, just getting really good at, like, building houses or fucking whatever, And I think most of us, that sounds like kind of a silly distinction to make. But the problem is that there are a lot of folks out there for whom that's a really difficult pill to swallow. People that are out there just absolutely losing sleep over the thought that, like, there are things going on that they don't understand and they don't know who's doing them. And it's like, well, that's got to be really limiting, But here we are. So when a lot of folks hear things like, record-breaking energy output from the collision of particles, they really just can't help, like, ripping their hair out and screaming at the top of their lungs about the end of the world. And no, pencil-necked geek working at CERN is going to convince them otherwise once they get this idea in their head that something's not right with, this kind of experimentation. It's not unique to CERN. It's not unique to the LHC. Pretty much any scientific research or theory is open to this sort of criticism from the woefully unequipped, myself included. And again, I'm not suggesting that everyone just like bury their head in the sand and accept every little narrative at face value, but I am suggesting that it's okay that there are folks out there that are smarter than you working on things you're unlikely to ever fully grasp.
I would say I absolutely love learning about stuff like this, and I'm at my last job I did work with work with radioactive materials as a chemist, But, like, also, like, I would say, as much as I love learning about this stuff, I would say more and more I'm starting to agree with the whole Butlerian jihad part of Dune, where he just must destroy all of the thinking machines.
Yeah, you're becoming like a Luddite.
Not quite a Luddite, but it's like, yeah, we should, none of this stuff's being used for good things. I saw a video of those creepy robot dogs from Boston Dynamics.
Sure.
And of course, they've already begun testing, putting guns on their backs.
Yep.
It's like, of course this is going to happen. This is why. No, no robots.
Yeah, there was I don't remember if it was Black Mirror or some other similar show, but I saw some episode of some sci-fi type show about like one of those things, like hunting people like relentlessly across some wasteland, and it was like really scary.
Yeah.
Because like it just would never stop.
Yeah, just destroy all the thinking machines before it's too late.
Before they destroy us and the Matrix happens.
Yeah.
Although that would be pretty cool if the Matrix turned out to just like be how, just be real.
Yeah.
Like a documentary.
Yeah, they were calling their shot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's a very Larry Bird move.
Yeah.
On the behalf of the Wachowskis.
Well, Babe Ruth calling the shot.
Oh, that's fine. Larry Bird used to do that shit all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck Babe Ruth.
Yeah, he was a Yankee. Fuck him. He injected himself with goat testosterone once.
Wait, what?
Or sheep testosterone, one of those two, yeah.
That rules.
Yeah, and he got, like, mad sick and missed a bunch of time. He just, like, bam, like, right to the leg. Yeah, I think it was either sheep or, like, goat testosterone.
Early PEDs.
And he was, like, trying to use it as, like, an early PED. I don't know. He's like, I need more testosterone.
Yeah.
And he just injected himself with it and got, like, mad sick.
Yeah, wow. Well, especially back then, it's like, how did they get that? They probably just, like, stuck a syringe in a goat's ball sack and,
yeah,
like,
it was
sucked
probably
a bunch
just
of fluid
goat
out.
cum or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just put it right into his bloodstream. Ends up, like, ectopically pregnant with a goat child. Anyway, that would be a cool movie.
The new movie from A24.
That would be a cool, like, alternate history movie. Like, he injects it into himself and then turns into, like, a rampaging goat monster.
Yeah.
And, like, that's
just,
the
like,
movie.
crushing fucking 1,000-foot taters. You know what I'm saying?
And there would have to be a part where, like, he's got, like, a piece of rebar or something, and, like, someone's trying to stop him, and he, like, steps back and, like, points and then knocks the person's head, like...
Yeah.
I think we've just come up with a movie.
This would be a really good B movie.
Yeah, if anybody wants to help fund it. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, Babe Ruth, Goat Man.
Yeah, Babe Ruth.
Yeah, oh God, dude, it's so bad.
So anyway, it's a point that folks struggle with. It's why you get things now like, despite the esteemed work of Eratosthenes in 240 BCE Egypt, folks still insist that we live on a flat disk on a turtle's back, right? Like, even though that guy was able to just like look at different length shadows in different parts of Egypt, 2,200 years ago, people are still like, no, I'm sorry, but water stays flat in a cup. So, something proves too difficult for them or relies on prior knowledge that they lack access to, and they just roundly reject it. And that's not their fault necessarily. Like we talked earlier, folks that are ignorant of things like this, it's not their fault that they're ignorant, but some of the backlash that can occur as a result of it can be like potentially pretty damaging. The fun bit is that sometimes the skepticism goes even further, and some of the alternative theories that develop are just like kind of wild. And the problem is that those theories now have this ability to just be kind of fielded by anyone. I mean, look, we make this fucking show. I'm here talking to you guys about, this like opinion piece on fucking internet conspiracies. What the fuck do I know? I don't fucking know anything. I'm just I'm a bartender. I'm a fucking moron. But I mean, I know how to make a drink. And that's about it. What'd you say?
I said you sure do.
I've
had them before.
Yeah, I'm a good bartender. I am good at that.
You're a mixologist.
I hate that term, but I think
I suspected that you would hate that term.
I do feel as though I've earned it. I do think that I qualify.
I have earned this title that I abhor.
Yeah, it's a really dumb thing to aspire to be or to be, but I have certainly.
It's really just a way of saying that you're really good at making drinks that get people fucked up and are tasty.
Yeah. And I am.
Yeah.
But, that's not a qualification. And that's sort of exactly my point, right? Like, you have to approach all this shit with a healthy dose of skepticism because there's so much information out there and so little of it is coming from a valid source. It's discussions on Facebook forums and shit like that. And that stuff can be spread around the world now with the exact same ease. In fact, probably more easily than, a press release from CERN or a new paper on particle physics. Because, a lot of that stuff's hidden behind paywalls and it's written in language that people just don't understand. So,
it's a big problem in academia.
It's a massive problem.
Paywall.
It's a massive problem.
The paywallification of everything.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Something that you guys should all know if you don't already know, most professors who are writing these things and researchers don't really see a red cent of any of the fees that are accrued from selling those papers. And a lot of the times, if you have their contact information, they'll just send you that shit. Yeah. That's what I've been told by many people that are in the know. So just keep that in mind. If you're ever interested, you can usually find a way to reach out, especially if they're working at a university, and just request that stuff. And who knows, maybe you'll get it.
At my last job, I got them to I got my last job. All I said was I would give a talk on it, but it was a history journal, and it was a volume that I really wanted. It was the journal for what was it? The Journal of Late Antiquity, and there was a piece in it about how certain flood data was used to redefine I forget which war it was, but one that was in the late Roman Empire was Valentinian or something like that was involved in the war. I can't remember which war
I remember
it was.
when this happened. I remember you telling me this.
And I got them to buy me the journal just so that, and I said that I would give a talk, a brief talk on that article. And it was a 15-minute talk at some meeting. But through that, I was able to get this journal for free. I was like, fuck yeah, dude.
That's
a lot
cool.
of good pieces in it.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they were like, how exactly does this pertain? You're like, don't think too hard about it. Just thank you for the journal.
History. I thought it'd be cool if I combined two of them together and you guys can listen. Really, I just want to read this nerdy-ass 200-page journal that has a bunch of cool articles in it.
Right. Yeah, well, so if you guys have that ability to fucking do that, do what Evan did. Just get your boss to buy you journals.
Yep. You just gotta be shifty like me.
Yeah. You are shifty. But so that's sort of the crux of the issue here, right? Is that the bulk of the information that you're receiving is not coming from a reliable source. It's coming from your Aunt Joan on Facebook, who is middle management at some company and doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about and is maybe a little upset about something political or whatever. And so it's just filtered and filtered and filtered through all these different layers of he said, she said. It's like a fucked up game of information telephone. And what you get out at the other end of it is there's no reason to believe that it's anything worth giving your time to. So just be careful about the information that you're absorbing. And so I guess without further ado, I want to talk just about a few of the sort of nuanced theories surrounding CERN and a couple of the one or two of the supposedly dastardly things they've been up to over the last decade, and kind of just discuss the cultural impact of that and why I think that's particularly insidious and kind of fucked up.
Sancho Panza is saying hi, by the way.
What'd you say?
Sancho Panza is saying hi, by the way.
What's up, Sancho?
Quite loud.
Hell yeah. Love that. What's up, Sancho?
All the way up. Yeah, ran on my money. I came in the game, did my thing, get jumped. I'm the same young nigga that came from nothing. Yeah. Bitch, I came from nothing. I'm straight off the block, I won't change for nothing. I made it out the hood, but I still be thug. I made it out the hood, but I still be drug. Hood rich nigga hands still get good. Only 24 when I keep me a thug. Shit'll get ugly, I got it in plug. I made it out the hood, but I still be drug. Hood rich nigga hands still get good. Only 24 when I keep me a thug. Shit'll get ugly, I got it in plug. It's not a secret, I got it on me. Fucked around, spent like $3 million in bling. Yeah, I know I'm humble, it's not what it seems. Yeah, fuck everybody, I'm all about my cream. Cartier shades, yeah, I buy like Kareem. Yeah, I leave a mark when I leave the scene. I'm nothing like y'all, these niggas be green. From the same city that killed Martin Luther King. Young niggas ain't really having no dream. Young niggas tryna get them some money. Young nigga came a long way. Cambridge, Sibylline, first Sunday. Yeah, I'm all out west, count the motherfucking chick. We gang them swinging on credit. You know how I do it, bitch, I'm about that bag. If I said I did it, I done it. Yeah, ran on my money. I came in the game, then my thing get jumped. I'm the same young nigga that came from nothing. Yeah, bitch, I came from nothing. I'm straight off the block, I won't change for nothing. I made it out the hood.
So I want to start with the theory that kind of kicked off my entire interest in talking about CERN today, which is the Mandela effect. I'm sure.
Okay, so I know before I said that I wasn't gonna take a snarky stance, but I do want to say for anybody who thinks that the Mandela effect is real, you can suck my fucking dick.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. I mean,
it's always Berenstain, guys.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Just because maybe a librarian pronounced it Berenstein when she was reading it to you as a kid, sure, but that doesn't mean that the timeline
Your
was out there.
dumbass could barely read at the time, dude.
Right. So let's just quickly. So I'm sure the vast majority of our listeners have heard of the Mandela theory, the Mandela effect theory. And so, Evan, do you want to give a brief synopsis for the listeners?
Yeah, it's the Mandela effect is this idea that I don't know, there used to be a different world that we were all in, and at some point the timeline shifted. Yeah. And we all have these lasting memories of this old world, where we all read the book Berenstein Bears as a kid, but for some reason the timeline shifted, and we all like one of those Star Trek episodes where there's a mirror universe or something, some sort of parallel universe. And we all entered the parallel one where it was actually Berenstain, and now we all see this, and it drives our fucking little pea brains wild.
Yeah, well, and so, that's the thing. I do remember the Berenstein Bears, right? But I think it's pretty easy, just like I was saying before, it's easy for me to wrap my head around the fact
because Steen's a normal last name,
right,
so
and
your brain probably just saw it and...
Exactly.
Bam,
and another big one, right? The Fruit of the Loom logo. The company Fruit of the Loom, undershirts and underwear and all that stuff. Bunch of fruit, and I always remember there being a little cornucopia behind the fruit. That's a really popular Mandela effect theory. That's never existed. It's just always been a pile of fruit.
The leeknon? Yeah, I remember a leeknon too, I feel like.
Yeah. Is that what a leeknon is?
Yeah,
a cornucopia?
Yeah, it's kind of that basket sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then you put the phallus in it.
Okay, we were just talking about that.
Our Ancient Mysteries one.
Yeah, no, exactly. So go back and listen to Evan's Ancient Mysteries series 1 and 2 because it's so funny. But I didn't realize that a cornucopia and a leek. I wasn't picturing a cornucopia. That's funny.
Yeah, it's like a wicker basket that goes into a cone.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, that's cool.
That's a leeknon.
Well, now I can picture the leeknon
where the dick's coming out of
anointing my phallus.
When you're an initiate to the Bacchic mysteries.
Now kiss it.
Fuck the leeknon.
Kiss it.
Yeah,
So needless to say, the Mandela effect touches on all sorts of things from brand logos to literature, but one particularly batshit theory directly involves CERN. So we all recall, I'm sure, the sort of very particular response that occurred after the 2020 U.S. presidential election, the defeat of Donald Trump by arguably the least compelling Democratic nominee in recent history, which is a major L for DJ. Because, imagine fucking getting smoked by Joe Biden like that. Especially now, looking back.
Fucking drooling dullard. Speaking of drooling dullards.
He's such a fucking loser.
He's so fucking...
He fucking smoked him. And, people, I guess sort of reasonably were like, huh? How did that happen? Because, say what you will about Donald Trump, and I don't have much good to say about him, but the man has a fan base. And they are a loud and proud fan base. If we had that
he got the second most votes ever in 2020.
I know. Yeah.
Not in that election, of all time.
I know, I got it. Yeah. Well, if he had the second most votes in that election, he wouldn't have won.
Well, he didn't.
I know, fair enough. Yeah, he didn't in that election. You're right. He did get the second. He did get the second most votes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, number 1 and number 2 are both candidates in 2020.
Yeah. But that's the thing. So a lot of folks, as we sort of said, cannot wrap their heads around this thing that they thought was sure to happen, not happening. And the loss was very real. It definitely occurred. But this particular theory has gained or at least general discourse about the different ways in which it's possible that this election was stolen from his rightful grasp. Gained a huge amount of traction, and specifically unlike Facebook forums and TikTok and Instagram and whatever. And that sort of turned into this just sphere of insanity that just wouldn't stop. We got things like QAnon, we got all this shit, and that's a ripe, vineyard for enterprising young gentlemen such as ourselves to kind of pluck the juiciest morsels from.
Yeah. I always love the conspiracies that have the world's like elite being secretly evil as opposed to
just like regular old,
like they're just outwardly evil.
Yeah, and they want just like the basic evil shit.
Yeah,
like it doesn't need all these steps. That's the thing that this bothers me so much. It's like why all the steps? Like, can't we just agree that they're bad? They
basically do drink the blood of people. It's just the people of the third world, and the blood is just the natural resources.
Sure.
Like once you pull away the veil of spectacle, you realize, all of these people are evil as shit.
Yeah. They're just not
like they don't have
people.
to be secretly.
So what if I were to say to you that CERN's insistent meddling with the laws of nature had given the reptilian cabal elite a dastardly idea?
Let's hear it.
And that idea would hatch into a nefarious plot to usurp the election that so rightfully belonged to the God Emperor. And that's right, folks.
Yeah,
the evil Rothschild-funded chronomancers at CERN found a way to fracture the space-time continuum and to open up an alternate reality where, against all odds, Trump somehow lost the election. And now we are living in that bleak hellscape shadow of our own reality, where monkeypox and coronavirus reign supreme. Yeah. And the death of the glorious city on the hill has been thrust upon us for some reason.
Just cracked open a fracture to the hollow earth where monkeypox and coronavirus
have lain dormant.
It lay dormant. Yeah,
they've been plaguing the underground dinosaur community.
would crawl around coughing with open pustules and sores.
Right. So the point is, it was that they did it. CERN did it, and they did it to stop Donald Trump. Those bastards.
That rocks, dude.
And it's a hilarious theory. And it's a level of straw grasping that is just delicious. It's like the sweetest honey you could ever think of. It's nectar for me. But the thing is, this theory and others like it have plagued CERN, especially during the social media age, and not just CERN, but we're just sort of using them as like the locus for my little opinion piece here. Yeah. And they're able to gain enough traction that mainstream news outlets like CNBC, for example, which is just like, if you look this up, it's right there. They've had to go to the trouble of reaching out to CERN for comment. Now, we can debate the equally nefarious motives behind, quote, reputable media outlets even giving air or screen time to theories like this. But the fact of the matter is that some poor fucking nuclear physicist at CERN had to take actual time out of his actual day discovering actual things about the fabric of reality to say, no, we did not intentionally split the space-time continuum to forever alter history and stop the U.S. president from winning re-election. That would be stupid. We make electron go fast, go boom.
Yeah. They can control the elections their own way.
Right.
They can do that much cheaper.
Much cheaper without our fucking hyper expensive equipment.
They can just, they have their own news networks that they just get you addicted to. So
for
they can
sure
just do it like that.
They feed you their manna from heaven and just get you absolutely addicted to it. So this like alternate timeline theory, it's a fairly classic example of a Mandela effect, with folks claiming to remember a Trump victory that just like never occurred, and like, but it was supposed to happen. I also remember that cornucopia.
Yeah,
and
right. I do remember that.
I do remember.
That must have been a different logo. That must have just been a different logo.
Maybe, but like it
not for a different company, and just the fruit in it made everybody think Fruit of the Loom.
Nope. There's been countless there's what's the other famous one? It's no, there was no cornucopia fruit logo.
No, for a different company.
No, I know it didn't exist.
Oh. All right, well,
it's just like not out there.
Huh?
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's something to this whole thing.
Now I have to suck my own dick because now I believe it.
God damn it!
Fuck. I already did this thing.
So a little aside, I'm not going to sit here and claim that CERN is totally blameless in all of this. Sure, you can chalk a lot of this nonsense up to the cancerous nature of the internet and the way information is traded back and forth. And yeah, a lot of it sounds pretty batshit. But CERN did make one major boo-boo that was basically asking for trouble from the internet kooks. They just had to go and discover the God particle.
Yeah, well, that's some other asshole's fault for naming it that.
Well, check this out. Yeah, so you've probably heard that term, and it is important to note that basically nobody that matters ever has or does refer to this discovery as the God particle. It's the Higgs boson. Evan mentioned it earlier, which admittedly sounds far less interesting and inflammatory.
Yeah, but it solved a lot of problems.
Yes,
discovering it in general relativity.
It was sort of like the little linchpin that everybody knew there had to be something there. And you could, once I get through this, you can probably elaborate a little more, just because.
Yeah, it just gives a lot of matter, not all matter, but a lot of matter. Its mass, basically.
Right. So I'm not smart enough to give a totally legit explanation of what it is, but we're going to do our best because
particle physics. I know enough to say little parts. But,
there you go. It's I know. Believe me, I know, buddy. Yeah. Like, you don't have to tell me that you're not a fucking theoretical physicist. You're smart. You're smarter than me, but you ain't that smart. But you actually probably are that smart, just not focused on that. I would say you're probably smart enough to do it.
Yeah.
If that had
I wasn't
been
great at math when I was younger, but I've gotten a lot better at it since I've been a chemist.
Yeah, right. You've had more exposure to that kind of stuff too. But
I didn't do like any math in college.
If you had devoted your powers to that instead of like knowing the most
getting
about
high and learning about history,
getting fucked up and like learning about swords, which like that's just like what I've come to like describe this myself as. Like, I'm just like a nerd who's into swords. That's like literally it. It all distills down to
swords and applied sword activity,
applied sword techniques. So Wikipedia, which I used for this little part here, tells us that just because this seemed like the quickest way to just get a little summary that I wouldn't have been able to put together myself. So the Higgs boson is, quote, an elementary particle in the standard model of particle physics produced by the quantum excitation of the Higgs field, one of the fields in particle physics theory. In the standard model, the Higgs particle is a massive scalar boson with zero spin, even or positive parity, no electron charge, and no color charge that couples to or interacts with mass. It is also very unstable, decaying into other particles almost immediately. And if that didn't excite your Higgs field, then I don't know if you're even alive. Long story short, the existence of the Higgs boson was theorized for 40-some-odd years prior to its eventual discovery and naming in, you guessed it, 2012. Foreshadowing. And it's named after Peter Higgs, who's a theoretical physicist who, having made acute observations on the origins of mass of elementary particles, noted that there was clearly something unobserved or missing that was causing asymmetry in his findings. So he and a bunch of other scientists actually around the same time kind of all theorized that an as yet undiscovered volatile boson particle must exist to account for the discrepancies in their data. And the hunt for the Higgs boson became a central goal for physicists in general, and CERN scientists in particular, for the next several decades. Well, in 2012, thanks to the LHC, the Higgs boson was finally observed, proving the long-standing theory of its existence and bringing us one step closer to understanding the fundamental mechanics of the universe. This is all super abridged layman's terms, as everything in this episode is, but Higgs won a Nobel Prize, and the world goes on. Except here's the thing. In 1993, a little book was written. This is, years prior to, almost 20 years prior to discovering the particle. But a book was written about the theorized existence of this particular particle by another Nobel laureate, a guy named Leon Lederman. And he called the book The God Particle, which he didn't intend for this to catch on like it did. He's just referencing the sort of supposedly fundamental relationship between the Higgs boson and basically everything.
Like a linchpin.
Right.
It just solves a lot of problems.
Right. And so it's when he calls it the God particle, he's just saying, like, this is the key to understanding matter and existence, right? Is if we could find this particle, we would have proved that all these other little systems that we've described and observed actually make sense working together.
Yeah.
What he didn't intend was for his little pop culture name. He wanted to sell books, right? But it sparked a ton of insane bullshit. But like, let's be real. Like, at his point, who could have predicted the power that 40-year-old moms would wield on Facebook?
I mean, it's kind of like Richard Dawkins.
Oh my god, the God delusion,
meme. Yeah. But no, Richard Dawkins coining the term meme.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because, he was using it in just like a book about biology, and now it's probably one of the most used words in American English.
And now it is a meme.
Yeah.
He
is a meme too.
Fuck that dude. What a tool.
He is like the most shit-brained smart guy ever. Yeah. Like,
I don't know, dude. Neil deGrasse Tyson's been giving him a serious fucking run for his money.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is very shit-brained, dude. The shit he was posting on Christmas about how impossible it would be for Santa to exist.
Yeah.
Who are you serving here?
Dude,
this is on Twitter. There's no children here for you to fucking red
This
pill.
is just fucking
adults.
mean-spirited bullshit.
Yeah, it's what the fuck.
So I've never been like
your family not talking to you this year? Is that why you're doing this on Christmas?
I was never a blanket Key and Peele fan, but there are obviously like moments of like fucking genius on that show.
I agree with you. Yeah.
And obviously, like Jordan Peele specifically, like has proven himself to just be like a fucking brilliant guy. They both are. From what I hear, they're both like really good and smart, funny guys. But they have a really great series of sketches about Neil deGrasse Tyson that are like so fucking funny. And I'm gonna drop a section of one in here. But do you remember? It's like Jordan Peele is Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? And his wife.
I don't think I've seen any of the.
Oh my god, they're so funny. And she's like, Neil.
Neil! Who is she? Who is the white bitch that left this goddamn lipstick stain on your collar? Oh, I got you. You're caught. Because this is apricot colored. And you know who wears that? White bitches. And you can't talk your way out of this one because I'm not getting confused today because I got my in order and I've done my research. Okay, Neil? You see, we are here at this point in space-time on a human scale. But at this point, you a trifling ass mother. So expect the papers from my lawyer because we're parting ways.
Well, actually...
No.
We are always parting ways and not parting ways in every conceivable combination. Many physicists, including Stephen Hawking, now believe that there is an infinite number of universes. It's called multiverse theory. And it suggests that there are an infinite number of universes in which I didn't have sex with that white woman.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
You bitch.
But so the problem is, right, that things have like these, we've talked about the awesome nicknames that these things have, and the LHC is called the fucking Atom Smasher, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is super rad.
These
but
are
like,
nerds that we're dealing with.
Yeah, and like, but like nutcases online are going to lose their fucking minds at this. So when people like Stephen Hawking, who came out around the time of the discovery of the particle, and sort of described the potential destructive capability of something like an atom smasher and the Higgs boson particle, and says like, yeah, theoretically it could something blank 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 destroy the world. And people,
well, I mean, that was like with the Trinity test before the first Trinity test explosion.
Sure,
there was like a legitimate concern because that's kind of what you're doing with those old classes of nuclear bomb, and even the new ones. You're still doing nuclear fission. You're smashing atoms.
Yeah,
there was like a concern that you could like burn up the ozone layer.
Right.
And they were like, well, let's fucking do it anyway.
Yeah, let's try it, because if it happens, I mean, worst case scenario, who's going to be around to be mad at us?
Come out number one still, so
it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Let's fucking do it, boys. So like, yeah, there's like a small concern because it's something unknown, right? It's something that never has been done before. And so you see people like Stephen Hawking come out and be like, yeah, theoretically it's possible that this could potentially go wrong, but it probably won't. And people are like, what? Go wrong? It's going to go wrong? And that's all they hear.
Black hole, you said?
Black hole. So the internet goes bananas over buzzwords, which that's like what it does. You know?
Yeah.
People see keywords and they fucking lock on.
Algorithm is created to make you insane.
Absolutely.
Remember that.
So all of a sudden fears are rampant that the LHC is just going to open up a black hole and swallow all of creation, which leads us to our next segment, which is lovingly entitled, Oops, You're All Dead. So you'd think that splitting the timeline would have satisfied the freaks at CERN, but no. The folks at CERN have apparently been up to a bunch of other evil, very evil things for much longer. You see, long before CERN split the timeline in 2020 and robbed Trump of his rightful seat on the throne, it turns out that they actually murdered every human being on Earth way back in 2012 during their hunt for God's own particle. Yeah, that includes you and me, bud. So wait, you mean to tell me that on top of my president having his election stolen, these assholes killed me and everyone I love? Not on my watch. One of the most popular and frankly frightening CERN conspiracy theories revolves around the notion that sometime in 2012, scientists at CERN were experimenting with their atom smasher, looking for their heretical God particle, and inadvertently created a small black hole. Unfortunately, they didn't realize what they were meddling with, and the black hole broke free of the super scientific black hole containment sphere.
No, nothing. No, you can't contain a black hole. That's the whole point of it.
Just listen,
it's a black hole.
Evan,
nothing escapes it.
This is satire. You're interrupting my bit.
Oh.
The black hole escaped from its super containment sphere, or cube, or pyramid, pick one, and proceeded to grow and grow and grow until it swallowed the entire Earth, snuffing out all of existence in an instant. And I fucking hate it when that happens, don't you? But Cam, you might be saying, and Evan is saying, I feel like I still exist. How is that even possible? What are you, stupid? What are you, some kind of an idiot? I'm only asking because to me, it's painfully obvious how. That's the thing about black holes, moron, is that they swallow up light and and time and everything. So obviously, it's going to take a little bit of time for our perception of reality to catch up to the fact that both reality and our ability to perceive it have ceased to exist. Listen, Evan, you're groaning, but haven't you ever butt-chugged GHB and listened to Tool?
Butt-chugged GHB? Jesus Christ, dude. Fucking drooling on the ground.
I mean, you'd be dead.
You would be like fucking Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street when he takes all those Quaaludes and just can't even move.
Right, he's just like foaming at the mouth.
Yeah.
So there are all sorts of hysterical justifications for this theory, and they're all fairly accessible if you're willing to sully your search history a little bit, which, spoiler alert, I am. One of my favorite sites that I found during stuff was called UFOsightingsfootage.uk. Yeah. I'm not going to pretend that's like a viable source of well-researched information. It's so on the nose and direct and like poorly written and curated. It's just such a garbage fire of a website. And it also might...
It's like the old internet.
Yeah, it feels very much like an old like GeoCities site or something.
Or like that guy that we like. That we won't say the name of.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Well, we actually like him. We promised early on in this show to never sully his name on this program, even though we talked about doing an episode on him. Oh, we're titillating people right now. That's too bad. We can't tell you.
First of all, none of you will ever be able to find.
No, it's a private citizen that I came across somehow.
No. I had sent you. We were in like some Facebook Roman history group. Mm-hmm. And I sent you a thread, and then you were like, "Hoy, who is this guy who's doing the thread?" Because it was a crazy thread.
Yeah.
And then you found his personal website.
I found his personal page and website. Yeah. So I guess it was a joint effort, wasn't
led
it?
him as being like basically the king of every nation.
Yeah, his family can trace
his lineage back.
And it all traces all the way. I will give one detail away. He believes that his like royal lineage, which is descended from like every royal line in human history and like every biblical like figure you could ever imagine.
Traces it back to prehistory.
Yeah, and they've ended up just like in the middle of Ohio. Being just like but here's the thing, the reason that this individual will never be outed on this show, even though he's literally been like a sort of quasi-celebrity figure in Evan and my lives for like 10 years, is because he seems like a
benign and nice.
Yeah, he's like very friendly. He's totally harmless, and his conspiracy theories, he's actually like actively anti-racist, anti-sexist. He's pro-choice. He's like all the things you wouldn't expect of one of these people, and disavowed QAnon, like all these things. So like, fuck it. Like, let the dude.
We just don't want to like accidentally sick the hordes of the internet.
No, but he's a fucking like the dude's fucking out of it.
It is like dude, it is some of the most insane shit I've ever seen.
It's awesome though. So much of it is like diagrams. We can't talk much more about this because we're not going to tell people. But like, I love how so much of it is just like internet clip art pictures of things that he's just like superimposed like MS Paint diagrams over
shit on. Yeah.
Like if Hollywood was gonna come up with like a character that was like a quote conspiracy theory guy, this is like the background imagery they would make like to just like for a quick shot in a movie.
Tim and Eric show.
Yeah, he's a Tim and Eric bit, 100%.
Yeah, he really is.
Oh man, we gotta check this guy. We gotta see what he's up to. I hope he's still kicking.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll check out his website and just text each other about it this
Yeah,
weekend
yeah.
and never let anybody else know.
Well, we'll confirm or deny next week if we remember whether this mysterious man is still doing his thing.
Dude, it is the most big dick website I've ever seen.
It's wild. It's so good. I'm like more excited about that than I am about finishing this show. So let's get this over with.
Yeah. I gotta go.
Oh man, I want to talk about him so bad because I want people to see it, but we can't.
I know. It's like, I know.
It's a legitimate ethical conundrum. I feel like we've struggled more with this than like straight up saying like I'll talk about like coming on air. I don't care, but like I won't. Like
but
my parents listen to this.
This is like a legit moral quandary
this is
that
like,
we found ourselves
ooh,
in.
like
Because it's a gold mine.
It's
like,
so
this
good.
Dude would be a celebrity if people could discover him.
This dude would blow up. He would get famous in a bad way.
Yeah,
we
that's the
can't.
thing. It's like Stephen Bartman at the Cubs game.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to let him catch the ball and go back into obscurity.
Yeah. Instead of turning him into like this societal pariah.
Yeah, instead of having like people like want to skin him alive because the Cubs are bad.
Yeah. hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Fucking
also,
way she goes, boys.
I wanted to say, that website I mentioned earlier. It might give you a computer virus, so like I'm not like trying to direct traffic there either.
Yeah.
But on this particular issue, they had some fucking awesome justifications for believing that we've all been dead for a decade.
Yeah.
For one, and the obvious one, it's 2012, right? So the Mayans predicted it.
Yeah, the Mayan thing. Yeah.
Also, Nostradamus' predictions don't extend that far. So another obvious one. But one that I thought was the best is they're like, Leonardo da Vinci never conceptualized any invention that came to exist after the year 2012 because the timeline ends there and he couldn't see that far into the future. So there's that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci. Yeah.
Some folks even go so far as to claim that not only was the Earth destroyed in 2012, but the entire universe ceased to exist over a decade ago.
Cool.
We just haven't. I mean, think about it. It's fucked. What if it? Big if true.
Yeah.
So if CERN is performing all these crazy harmful experiments, and has actually accomplished their goal of, I don't know, just ending all of creation, I guess we don't have much to worry about, right? Wrong, idiot. There's plenty to worry about. So while we wait for our perception to catch on to the fact that we're fucking non-existent, who's behind all of this? That's a clown question. It's obviously the Illuminati, okay? The Rothschilds, the Clintons, the reptilians, Jeffrey Epstein, Hunter Biden. Don't be a fucking dunce, okay?
Yeah, that one's true, yeah.
This is all obvious shit. Why? Why do they want to do this? Why would they destroy all of creation? What do you mean, why? Have you even been listening to anything I've been saying in this episode? Okay? It's all about control, man. But Cam, how can you control something that doesn't exist? That's too many questions, fucko. You're missing the forest for the trees, you know what I'm saying? Look, at the end of the day, you can't think too hard about the who's and the whys, because you'll go cross-eyed on this shit. The important thing to remember is that there are people out there who are more powerful than you, and they want to split your babies open and suck out that sweet, sweet baby goop like it's tapioca pudding. And every time you stop to ask yourself why, that's another baby you could have saved from becoming a human Go-Gurt.
And I want my Go-Gurts.
And I want my Go-Gurts fresh, raw and wriggling.
Y'all owe me 5 baby spines, and I want my spines.
I want my spine. So don't waste a minute on the details. Just remember, CERN is bad, and we're all dead because of it.
Cool. Great.
Yeah. So that's it, basically. I mean, there's way more that you guys can dive into on this one, but that's my little opinion piece about internet bullshit and CERN.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to contribute or add? We're getting a little long, I guess. Longer than I thought.
Yeah, no, I've got dinner plans, so I gotta...
what do you got, a little date?
No, I'm going out with my brother-in-law.
Oh, cool.
Because my sister and nephew are in Florida. Mm-hmm. They're getting a bunch of work done on their house.
Yep.
So he has to stay up, but they don't want like a 2.5-year-old kid in a house while like the whole upstairs is being redone. So they went to my mom's place. Cool. My brother-in-law's up here by himself, so we're going to hang out.
You guys going to go to the pasta house?
No, we're going to Frontera.
Oh, I've never been there, but you've told me it's good.
I have been there.
And tacos. I have been there.
Yeah, get some margaritas and tacos, baby.
There you go.
Bam.
There you go. Well, that'll be fun. I hope you guys have a wonderful time. I guess if there's nothing else to add, thank you guys for your patience over the past month, letting our brave boy heal up. He sounds and looks unbelievable. seriously, you look great, man.
I'm ready to fuck.
Yeah, you look like fit and hale and hearty, and like you can tell that shit was holding you down, like pretty rough. So I'm happy that you're back at it, and we will be back. What, next week? Will you be ready next week?
Yeah. I'll be doing Ancient Mysteries next week.
Yeah.
And then I think it'll be early next month. We're gonna have a guest on. Mm-hmm. So that'll be good. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And then I haven't even decided what my next episode is going to be, but we'll try to get 3 or 4 out this month. So we'll see you guys much sooner than last time.
Well, probably not going to get 4 out this month.
No, we're not, because this is going to come out, I don't know, soon. But
we'll get 3.
We'll try to get 3 done this month. And on that note, I wanted to just say, so last month, despite only having 2 releases and neither of which having a guest on who drew a ton of attention or whatever. It was far and away our third best month of all time. So thank you guys so much for sticking around and listening. It's we really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
And keep telling people about us.
Yep.
And we spread by word of mouth. So yeah, we appreciate that. And I guess we'll see you next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peace.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah. Now this the hot shit. Jimmy Snooker off the top rope, super fly shit. Might get in the tub with all my ice on some pop shit. Either way, you slice the bottom line on the top, bitch. You should know I rock it twisted, it ain't even out yet. All this jewelry at the grocery store, I'm obnoxious. Bought a home and closing on another, I know I'm blessed. Everybody wanna be gang, ain't no spots left. Bad bitch contest, it wouldn't be a contest.
Ooh, smoking dope.
I'm connected. I don't know what's longer, man, my block list on my checklist. I don't know what's colder, man, my heart on my necklace. Pretty when I wake up, I'm a bad bitch at breakfast. Still might slide on the op.
It's electric.
Hating didn't work, so they lied. These bitches looking hurt and they fried. I know they wouldn't miss them if they died. Tell them move. New Chanel on my body, it's a boost. I'm so poppin', I don't ever gotta get introduced. One thing I never call a bitch for, it's a truce. Yeah, but can't wait to put that bitch to use. Ooh, checks coming fast, sound like swoosh. Ooh, give him to them straight, 100 proof. I thought I killed you hoes before, it must be deja vu. It's either that or I'm catching body numbers.
This that pop music, this that drop location, drop a op music. Man, this ain't for them niggas in the house, this shit for Glock you. And don't talk down on trenches hoes who known to be a cock you. This that pill talk, gotta bust his head, he cut on op music. Who said you gang? Who said you could come around this bitch and hang? And I fucked your baby mama and I ain't say a thing. They just came outside in 2020, pull up in that 21. I pick my side, switches fully, and I'ma die for 21. I got plenty cars, I hit plenty stars and then it come. I said it plenty times, I pay for bodies, I ain't pay for none. You think I'm finna leave my bitch for you? She fuck Future too. I know that Vaughn hit her, she put up on my block and Jimmy Choo. Schmirk.
Ooh, checks coming fast, sound like swoosh. Ooh, give him to them straight, 100 proof. I thought I killed you hoes before, it must be deja vu. It's either that or I'm catching body number 2.
Piggy swear you ain't scared when you heard yeah appear. I'ma hop about the bushes, me and Pusha kill your man. I'm just saying now I start to get used to the pain. Till one day I said, fuck it, brought my masseuse on the plane. Why you playing? Reaching the game, lose a hand. Where you stand? Where was Jay at? Where was them at? Where you done that? Where you live at? Another headline, where you had at? Nigga, go home, where your kids at? They be on my nerve, they be on my nerve. When we lost Verge, I was on the verge. I just hit the Louis store, had to splurge. We just made a silent movie with no words. Guess who topping now? God got me now. Guess who at Balenciaga? Guess who shopping now? They can stop me now. I've been popping now. Cardi, where your sister at? I need Henny now. I flew in and out, 150,000. Now even when they shout, gotta shout me out. So ahead, go ahead. Not even close. All of y'all is number 2.
Ooh, checks coming fast, sound like swoosh. Ooh, give him to them straight, 100 proof. I thought I killed you hoes before, it must be deja vu. It's either that or I'm catching body number 2.